We used to watch that on the wall in the gym in school as our Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's the comedy westerns.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I got DVDs of it. My family got it for me one year.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a medium. It's a median. A medium is somebody you have looking for ghosts.
Yeah. What is the medium? A ghost?
No.
A medium is somebody that can talk to ghosts or whatever.
Oh, okay, that's mediums.
Storage.
I'm gonna make a copy of this while we're waiting.
Please enter your participant or moderator code followed by the pound key. Please say your name followed by the pound key.
Is that on? Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna have to call you later. For what? No, never found it. The city might have some sewer. But oh boy.
Oh,
Something.
I should have brought candy.
See, it's not right. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, they have to be distributed.
I thought you could share if you wanted.
These are like $5 a piece, aren't they?
Yes. 20.
Share one.
Well, we're limited. What is it? $3 and some cents.
Oh, yeah.
One Smartie a
Yep.
piece.
So we about ready to start?
I would assume we're ready then.
Yeah.
All right, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda as presented.
I'll second that. A motion Derby, a second for Stender to approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Conference call discussion.
I called him.
It sounded like we had some trouble with the
Yeah.
call last week.
I don't know. It's like if I'm on another supervisor conference call like that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do it without muting because the back and forth muting, unmuting gets a little confusing for us as the people that have to make all the decisions. I would like to see other people that are participating mute as much as possible unless they're gonna speak. But if we do this, I would rather somehow, if we're gonna go to meetings from home, I would rather do it through Zoom or something so we can see each other, and it's a lot better timing knowing if we're ready to move forward and stuff.
Is Zoom costing?
If, I was just looking into that, it's maybe like $15 a month, so it's minimal.
Right now, for the schools, it's free,
Yep.
and I'm not sure if governments and nonprofits are free or not.
I didn't quite get into it that far, but even if we have to pay for it, I mean, $15 to have a good meeting.
There's also,
GPS signal lost.
we also have the option of the team meetings.
Microsoft Teams. Yeah. Yep.
I
And
used
that'd
that
be,
last week for that FEMA call, and it seemed to work okay.
yeah.
And you have the choice on any of these to where you don't have to have your camera on. But if I'm gonna work with these guys, I'd rather be able to see them face to face to know where we're at on things.
Yeah, we had a family Zoom yesterday. It works really good.
Yeah, and as long as you have somebody maintaining it to where if you have somebody that's kind of the moderator,
Yeah.
you can, that person can go in and mute somebody that's making noise.
That's true.
My
And
wife
we
does
can do
it
that.
from home. She's teaching school right now from home
Yeah.
through Zoom. And it works great.
We can do some of that with just the call-in number too. I mean, I can log into a thing and mute somebody if we needed.
Yeah.
But,
You
you know,
know
it's,
which one needs to be muted.
well, there's a little indicator like
Yeah,
Zoom.
it flashes when you're talking.
When it's detecting sound, and it's like this
If your
person is,
mute button is green, you're live.
yeah.
Yeah, but can he see my mute button? That's what
I can't see your mute button, but I can tell if there's sound coming through.
from that number.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the conference call, it doesn't, it's phone numbers, and some of them have caller ID and some of them don't, so I don't necessarily know who it is, but with Zoom, you know, you have to log in and put a name and that kind of thing.
And anybody can call into a number in Zoom if they don't have they can use just a call in and have voice.
Yeah, I mean, we can use Zoom for free for limited meetings, but then like the call-in number is an add-on that's a couple bucks a month kind of a thing, and so I think that's how we ended up at 15. And to have meetings longer than 40 minutes,
Yeah.
they have, you know, it's, like I said, if that's the route you want to go, I don't think the cost is really the issue. It's very reasonable, and we could cancel it when we're done doing this. The technology piece of it, you know, concerns me a little bit. I don't know.
And it said this order was shipped for your name tax Friday.
Julie, will you please mute your phone?
Julie, can you hear us?
I think she muted now.
Yeah, it's all dead now.
Alright.
So I guess the only reason I brought it up is I don't want to go to an online meeting right now, but if we go that route, I'd rather do it more video for us at least.
Yep. If the board is comfortable with that and wants to do that, I can make it happen, and it's not going to be a huge deal. And
As
it's
long
not,
as we're set up.
yeah, I mean, you know, if you have a laptop with a webcam, or you can do it on a phone too, if you have the app,
Just set it
but
up, prop it or
it's just
something.
going to require, you know, a little learning curve if you haven't done it before to make sure that you get it. You know, we'd probably
Get your
want to
best
do it.
angle.
We'd want to do a test. Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
you'd have to comb your hair or whatever.
yeah, it's make sure you got a shirt on. If you're sitting there in your underwear, you mean.
You don't want to be mistaken for Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
So anyway, you guys let me know what you want to do. I can make, you know, I can work with Carla and make it happen. We just need to send the information out prior to the meeting. And I would say the 4 or 5 of us should do a test call before an actual meeting, just to make sure that we get all the kinks worked out.
Yeah.
And to me, Zoom or Teams, it doesn't matter. They're pretty comparable.
You got it, but it helps to download the app ahead of time so you're ready.
Yes, yeah, you don't want to start downloading the app at 5 minutes till, because if you run into a bug or it's slow for some reason.
Actually, I didn't need to get on the app. I just went to the Zoom website and I got on.
Yeah.
The
and
team one was,
that can do
yeah,
it too.
on team, they had a choice. You could just,
Yep,
but it's kind of nice to be able to have the app so it's always there and you don't have to worry about it.
yeah. the technology is pretty awesome and it does work pretty well for the most part. But the step to go to the video conferencing versus just a phone where you dial a number and either hit mute or unmute is, you know, that's a pretty big jump.
Is there a way to integrate the live stream with the Zoom to where they can see the screen?
Probably.
Just put a screen up in front of that.
You mean where they could see it on YouTube?
Well, yeah, that's on and they see the screen.
Yeah, we could do that.
We did that last week with this.
For the special meeting, we put what was on the projector screen on the YouTube stream. So because there was nobody sitting in here, so we just put the agenda.
So you
on the screen.
could probably just transfer.
So if we load the
Zoom
Zoom or Teams onto this laptop and then put it on the second screen, we can just share that.
Yeah.
That would actually work surprisingly well.
Well, I guess we have another special meeting. That'd be one place to try it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, we just need a green light. I don't want to spend time on it if you guys are not interested in it, but.
What's your thoughts?
That's fine. If we get to that point, I guess.
I want to limit my contact as much as possible. You know, I have to care for an 89-year-old and make sure I stay healthy and clean.
300% there.
But I want to be here for the regular meetings because I think it's better to do it in person.
Well, I'll just wait. I don't know if you're going to work through Carla or whatever, but
yeah,
I won't buy anything or do anything yet. Or do you want me to just have it set up?
Maybe set up a test run so we know we're ready.
Okay. Well, we can probably do that with a free account. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll do that, and we can plan on testing it maybe later this week or something. You guys pick a date. You want to schedule something?
I can't Wednesday or Thursday. I have a webinar, a human resources webinar, both days.
You want to do Friday?
Friday's fine with me. Good Friday?
Oh, that is Good Friday. Fine, as far as I'm concerned. Not going anywhere.
Anniversary of this.
What time?
Anniversary of what?
That's when I did my finger.
Oh, jeez.
You did that on Good Friday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Real Good Friday.
Yeah, it's
What time do you
turned out to be Bad Friday then for you.
Yeah, 9 a.m. or what is good?
Just do it 9
Doesn't
a.m.
matter to me.
Okay.
9 a.m. I think it's good.
Okay.
What day?
Friday, April 10th at 9 a.m. And I'll probably do, well, I'll check it out a little closer, but we'll send an invitation out and just plan on that.
No, I suppose if we're all going to be together like that, you have to send out a notice of a test run.
I suppose.
And then I don't see how
We're not discussing anything.
Well, for that purpose, I think you can get by with just the live stream. That's it.
I don't know.
Then they know that we didn't do anything illegal. It's just more of a test for
Sure,
a few minutes, and that's it.
Well, then we do need to test the video.
Yeah.
So, okay, we can do that. Definitely understand, not trying to hide anything.
Yeah. But I don't think we have to give everybody access to that meeting necessarily.
We'll just record it and then they know.
Yeah. All right. 9:15. 9:15.
9:15?
What time it is.
Oh, you're talking about that. I was just finishing up, putting in my reminder. Okay, 9:15 a.m. Discussion of possible action, wetland restoration plans for DD 83, 88, 89, and 101.
Can you ask if there's any landowners that want to say anything if they're on the phone?
Are there any landowners that are on the line for this?
Yeah, I'm here, John Johnson.
Morning, John.
Yeah, Brian Peterson too.
Do you guys have anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, I'd like a few comments, I guess. This is John Johnson. I'm a trustee for District 88. I guess to me, part of the problem is, potential tree root problem. And it doesn't seem right that the entire district has to pay for root removal. I think that the wetlands easement has some stipulations about maintenance, and the NRCS is supposed to enforce the terms of the wetlands agreement. I guess I'd like to see some process for getting these resolved, and the landowner paying for the root removal rather than the whole district. I think, if the easements are recorded at the courthouse, and I think that the NRCS needs to be held to enforcing their easements. That's where I see the problem. But they haven't done that in the past. So I guess I don't know. I'd like to see some process where, as a farmer has a complaint, it goes to the drainage trustees and to the NRCS, and that the wetland owner is responsible for maintenance of the easement. That's my viewpoint on it anyway. Thank you.
John, this is Mike. As far as the roots in the tile, that's an issue that's taken care of by law. We've already dealt with that up in Norway one time, and we charged it right back to the landowner.
And we did it, County Conservation had a project up there that they had to pay to have the roots taken out of their tile. And
so I don't know if we can add language to reiterate.
Well, by the letter that was sent out by Chris, I mean, it says it goes back to the whole drainage district by the drainage code.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, before there's a problem, the easement should kick in, and there needs to be some maintenance of these trees, which is on the NRCS's. They're supposed to be reviewing the wetlands and make sure they're properly maintained, which they haven't been doing. I guess I'd like to see the trustees of the drainage district send a letter to them and tell them they need to do what the easement says.
This is Chris.
Is that the same program as Norway?
I'm not sure of that answer. And in the letter I sent out, I did forget to give the supervisors a copy of the letter, but per drainage code, the board can have anything clean, the ditches, drains, laterals, anything that interferes with the water, including the trees, hedges, or shrubbery, and it goes back to the district. That is in the code. We have enforced landowners to take care of it in the past, but I don't know if they decide not to, we don't have a leg to stand on. In the past, people have done it.
We've had problems in 88 with them not wanting to take care of it. I think you need to review the wetland easements, because there's provisions in there for the NRCS to take care of it, and
Right.
It goes right to the landowner.
And I don't know what happened
That needs to be enforced, in my mind, because everyone shouldn't have to pay for somebody's neglect.
and I believe the trustees agree with that, but in 1988, I don't know what was happening back then. I only know what today is happening, and that we can keep track of it better and be in contact with the NRCS and the DNR and see if they can't do what they say they're supposed to do.
Well, I mean, the easements are recorded at the courthouse. I mean, I think they need to be reviewed and see what the landowner's responsibilities are by these easements.
Right, and we never see the easements.
Yeah, but they're recorded, so it's public knowledge.
Right, but I mean,
so
unless somebody tells me there's an easement out there, I don't know that I need to look at it.
and maybe it should be part of that file. That easement should be part of our drainage file.
But it's their personal land.
Yes, but it affects the drainage.
That's however you guys want to do it,
Especially
but
if
we
it's the one
haven't,
we're converting.
that's up to you guys.
The easement should show up.
Yeah, we just
Well,
haven't
I
in the
mean, they're
past, so.
recorded. I mean, I've got a copy of one from '95, and the way it reads to me, it should be the landowner's responsibility, but the NRCS has to start the process, and they haven't done that.
Okay. And maybe that's something I can talk to
Wow.
the recorder's office on, that if there's easements like that recorded, that I need to get a copy, and then we can keep track of them better?
Yeah, because to me, this is all backwards. You're saying we have to wait until a tree root causes a problem. I'm saying it should be maintained before, and it's gonna be way cheaper to do it before than start digging up and replacing tile. And
Right.
I think it's in the easement, and they just haven't been, the NRCS has dropped the ball and hasn't been getting them to do what it said in the easement. And the people got paid for putting an easement on, and so they have a responsibility. That's my viewpoint on it anyway.
That's
Right.
the way we treated that landowner in Norway. I didn't know that we couldn't do that, so.
And I think with having me go out and check out projects like this, I can keep track of it and see things while it's happening instead of after the fact.
Well, my concern is, on 88, we've had problems in the past, and it's been tree roots, and we shouldn't have to wait until after there's a real issue. By the way, the easements say they're supposed to not let it get to that point. And, I mean, last meeting I was to, they said it's supposed to be a restored wetland prairie, not a restored forest, which is what some of these are turning into.
Chris?
Yeah.
This is Scott Langer.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to mention that most of these drainage districts, the easements are kind of by prescription, and so there aren't actually recorded documents spelling out the conditions of the easements. So it really reverts back to what the code says. And there's a section of the code at 468.148. And I talked to Mark about this a little bit in length, and he said they kind of held their hat on this one. It talks about willful injury to the tile by obstructing it with tree roots, to summarize it, basically. And so they've always held that, anybody with trees above a tile line is responsible for maintaining them. So I think that section of code that you referenced in the letter, I think was a little bit short of, reviewing the entire code in entirety. And this is what we've done in the past is, according to Mark, is held true to that piece of the code and always held the landowners responsible. So
I got this from John Torbert through the IDDA attorney, so that's what I went with.
We need to track that down. We need to, and I can do it if you would want me to.
Well, no, I mean, I have the code right here, so I can check with John again, but.
Well,
So
Scott is saying it's legal, you're saying it's not.
Well, Scott's not an attorney.
But legal, he's saying it's legal to go after them to get the repair done,
Yeah.
according to the 468,
So
148.
legally go after
But
them,
we
or
have-
just suggest that they fix it?
Well, but you have to make sure that they willfully did it. Nobody willfully put a tree in there that it just grew. So we would have a hard time fighting that in litigation.
Yeah, but they willfully didn't maintain it. Right. So therefore they're.
Yeah, the maintenance is an issue.
And-
Right.
And I think with proper notice to the landowner, that could be considered
Right.
willful.
So I understand, John, what you're saying. In the past 30 years, nothing's been done. I'm hoping that in the future it will be. I can't change what's happened before, but I would really like to try to make this right for going future.
Well, I guess, I don't know why you can't review the easement, because that's where it turns it into a wetland. There's maintenance clauses in there. There's another government agency that put it on there. I don't know why the drainage trustees can't review those, because the drainage would have priority. That was there before the wetlands easement.
Right, I agree with you. I just have to have the recorder's office, if there is something recorded over there, they would have to give it to me so I would know it's out there to be watchful of it. If I don't know there's an easement, I don't know. what's happening.
I mean, that's part of when people put the wetlands easements on, it's filed there. I mean, it's public information. I just don't think it's been enforced.
So,
I agree with John Johnson on this stuff with the maintenance issues in the past. This is Brian Knudsen. That's where some of this stuff is coming back from, to try to help for things coming up down the road that we don't have to fight in 15 or 20 years.
and that was part of our discussion with the NRCS, that we want to identify where that area is that we have to keep the trees out. We're going to have stakes every so many feet that, you know, creates that area that the trees cannot be. So it's easier for us to identify a problem.
Well, part of it is tiles aren't all even identified. They didn't put non-perf in when they started some of these projects. I mean, I realize that doesn't have anything to do with the new one, but that's ongoing issues in the old ones. And I've on 88, we've already had trees we've had to dig out of the main. And they weren't, you know, there's no non-perf where these trees were. And how far is far enough away from a tile line?
Well, they're putting non-perf in.
They're putting non-perf in this, and aren't they also going to leave inspection? And
Yeah.
they're going to put poles, so.
And they're going to reroute it so it's off to the side more rather than down in the
Yeah.
low area, easier to access.
So we can get at it and fix it if there is a problem, and then they're also gonna put in the inspection intakes or whatever along the line too, right? So we can.
Right, every so many feet.
Yeah, so we will be able to inspect this one better, I guess, it's, some steps. have to
Going
take.
forward, we can. The past, we can't change.
No, the past is the
And
past.
this discussion is only on this project.
Yeah.
I understand we want to maintain
Well,
it, and
I
that's
guess
what we want to do too.
I would ask that you get some of the copies of the easements then that's going on for this new one and see what the landowner's responsibilities are.
Yes.
Okay.
We will do that.
This is Chris. Can I say something?
Sure.
There is a warranty easement deed recorded September 20th of 18. Are you talking in Forest Township?
No, this is in Mount Valley.
Okay. I will keep looking.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
would say that would be a good example if it's the same type of project, or?
I don't know. I mean, because who knows what they installed back then?
Yeah.
It's best just to start with this project
Yeah.
and do the best we can for the landowners, for everyone involved.
But even going back, we're going to do our best to enforce the ones that are already there.
Right. And I'll have to check with the code because Scott brought up a good point. That is in the code. I just don't know how we would say that they willfully did it.
If that's the case, then it sounds like in the past we've been flying by the seat of our pants.
Well, by them not maintaining it, I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to John.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But we've seen enough of it recently to where we're well versed on it now, so we can identify it and deal with it.
I'll check that after the meeting, John.
All right.
So,
I mean, I think it all starts with these easements, and you need to get, you know, copies of the easements and see what their responsibilities are.
Yep.
So there was a list of questions from Mark Kingland.
and those have been answered.
Okay.
So John, Chris Colby did find a copy of one. It's quite lengthy, so I'm gonna have to take some time to read it.
This one or?
It is, oh, it's yours, John,
Okay.
and it was recorded in 2018. So I'll have to look at it to see what it says. I don't know what today's version says, if they've changed it since 2018.
Yeah, I know that it's changed through the years.
Yeah.
That's about all I know.
So, but today the NRCS, I mean, I hate to push everybody, but they do need an answer on this because they need to start their bid processing to get this built. So I would ask the trustees of this district and Brian and John for your opinions on if we go forward.
So what the answers to the questions, were they satisfactory?
Yes, I've been in contact with Mark Kingland, and we've gone over everything. He's talked to IDDA. I need to find his letter.
Well, I talked to him too, and he didn't think it was all that necessary to have risers every so often. He thought property line would be good enough, so
Okay.
we'll have to address that too.
And his basically too was the non-compliance, and that's what we're trying to work on right now with making sure that people are in compliance with the trees and everything. And what we can do with the existing wetland areas, I'm not sure. I mean, we'd have to.
Just more communication with NRCS. And
Right, right. So for past projects, I honestly don't know how I can fix all of that, but I can certainly try.
Well, if it's statute, I would assume.
So the drainage law was there long before these were, so.
And it's pretty plain what has happened, and if you pose the question to someone, if this was turned around and someone else's trees had plugged, create a problem for you, would you want to help pay for it?
And the
Well,
thing.
I agree.
Right.
You know, it's,
Right. The thing too is they're putting all new tile in for all the landowners to use, so there's no maintenance on that for a long time.
hopefully.
I have a question as far as on this new project. I've got a private tile that goes on and hooks on the main. Is there gonna be a viewing, intake for that, or am I on my own on that?
That part I don't know. I would have to talk to the NRCS on their plans on that. I know that they will hook up all the tile that's already existing into the tile they're gonna take out. So how it is there now, I would guess, is how it's gonna be in the
Well,
future.
I mean, if we request that if that can be one of the inspection points.
That could
Because
be.
they're gonna make the connection, they're gonna be there anyway, which I think, you know, you said he didn't think they needed to be. As long as they're putting it in, and long as it simplifies things if they are there. And I don't know why they can't put one right on his tile.
It doesn't have much of a cost.
No, because it's already
Well, but it's not up,
making
it's
the
not up to us,
connection.
cause they're paying for it all.
But they've already said that they would do that.
I just don't know where they're gonna be. I mean, we can't promise the landowner it will be at their
Here's one
junction.
where we can talk to them and make sure we
Sure,
want
we
one.
can.
Oh, we can-
If they don't get it.
Yeah.
Is there anybody from NRCS on the phone?
Is there anybody from NRCS on the phone?
I'm here, this is Brenda.
Is that a possible thing to request, on inspection intake?
Yes. Yep, we can note that for sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
As far as maintenance in the future, what are your views on that? Can you help us do that?
Yeah, we're willing to work with you on everything. You know, we don't have a lot of teeth to enforce some of this either. But I think it'd be good for us to review an easement with you folks. I wasn't just going to get in the middle of all your conversations. But we will, all of the easements lately are all the same, they're written the same. But I do think y'all need to look at those, just review them, and then we can discuss that a different day.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
And Chris, this is TJ with the DNR. I'm on the call too. I just want to say about future maintenance, you know, with this project in particular, when the county tile is identified and we can see inspection ports and other things that make it readily identifiable, I have no issues committing to keeping that above ground tile free of trees. You know, a lot of things we run into is just location of that tile is unknown for us, and you know, some of these things were purchased by DNR with tree issues existing. Some were, you know, in DNR ownership when the tree issues came along. But if we don't know where the tile is, you know, the area needs to be maintained free of trees. it makes it kind of tough. So with this project going forward, I see no issues keeping that above ground tile, area above the tile clear trees.
Thank you.
Yep.
John, we'll put it in the language too. I would assume we would.
I mean, that's for the new one, but I've got ongoing issues with old ones too, and I realize that's a different subject, but I guess, I don't know how, I guess the review of the easement would be the starting point, because I don't think you can, there's no responsibility to the landowner when they have that easement on, but I haven't seen a current one, so I don't know.
This is Mark Kingland. I'm looking at a existing easement here right now, Chris. I was gonna email that to you. I didn't yet. And it says all costs incurred in maintaining the WRP project are the obligation of the landowner. And this easement goes in perpetuity, and it supersedes any ones going forward to that. And the maintenance and the inspection of that is up to a representative of the government, which would be the NRCS. So as far as existing WRP acres that have trees and stuff growing on them, I would say that the avenue to get a resolve on that is to start with the NRCS and have them do the inspection. And yes, if it's out of compliance, then start the process of getting that as far as a remedy.
Mark, do you still feel the farmer should be the primary inspector like we talked about?
Well, I don't know if it has to be the primary inspector, but where the county tile is, it's you know, whose responsibility is it to keep an eye on county tile. As far as the project that you are looking at voting on today, and as I've said, when I look at the engineering of it, it looks like a good project as long as it's installed correctly and maintained going forward. So like, that's what Chris and what you guys have said, if an effort is made to do the maintenance and stuff going forward, I don't see a problem with that. On some of these existing wetlands, according to the easement I have in my hand, and I don't know that it hasn't really changed on the basic language of these going forward. It's the responsibility of a representative of the government to inspect and make sure that the forbs and the grasses and the project is maintained the way it's laid out. And so if Brenda's on the call here too, I think it starts with NRCS, and maybe you need to look at specific places. I know John has one on 88 there that it appears like, you know, isn't in compliance. Maybe you need to look at that specific one and see, okay, is indeed it out of compliance, and where do you go from there?
Yes.
I guess I would like to see a process, you know, before the fact on how I can get some resolution on some of these issues. Because now what do I have to do? I don't know. Do I have to sue the government to try to get this taken care of? Or, you know, as a trustee of 88, I'm responsible for trying to keep this working. So I don't know if there's not a real defined process on how you get things resolved either.
Well, there's another caveat to this too, John. I don't know if you're aware of it, but trustees, which you are one, they cannot be sued. That's right in state statute. So we've got to buckle this. We've got to get this down so that there's no chink in the I guess armor. Yep.
Well, I just like to see a way to get it, so if I have an issue, this is what the process is to get it resolved. And right now, there's no defined way to even, I don't know where to start even when I have an issue.
Right.
So to get And I would like to see the NRCS and whoever have a process to find that if they're, hopefully before that thing is cut, there's a way to get it resolved just because the trees are growing on top of it. So that's what I'd like to see.
Well, let's start with, we'll research to see what easements there are and put it back on next week's agenda. What?
Well, I would think, Brenda, that's maybe a question for you guys. What can we do about past projects? Going forward, I understand what we can do, and we'll keep in contact, and that will, I think, be good. I just don't know what to do about past projects.
So maybe what we need to do is just get a meeting together between some of our agency staff. I need to bring in some people above me, and then talk about old easements and what can and can't be done and the process. Okay. I wasn't planning on discussing all old ones today, so
right, and we're not either.
Right. But, so, I mean, if we can get together and go over the easement and discuss this stuff at another time,
that would be great.
More than willing to do that with you folks.
Perfect. You and I can get together on that.
Sure, and anyone else that wants to be there, that's fine with us.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Brenda, I would like to show you some of the current problems we have on existing ones at some point out in the field.
Sure, John. I'm willing to meet you anytime. You can just give me a call. I can give you my office number.
Okay.
My office number is 641-923-2837, extension 308.
308?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess we've gone to that. I would entertain a motion to either go ahead with this or not go ahead with it, or are you guys ready for that, or?
I'm not. I'm ready to go forward. We gotta find out the easements. We gotta find out some more information before we can approve it, in my opinion. Wouldn't you like to know more?
No, I agree with Brenda and TJ that going forward, starting with this project, there shouldn't be any issues. It's the past ones that are a problem that we need to do more research on.
I think.
Do we have something with language in it?
Mark was reading.
Yeah, Mark's was reading his. So.
And I'm comfortable with the language that's in that one to, maintain. Is in there.
And the steps being taken to make it easier to maintain.
Right.
Well, to the guys it's going to affect, what's your thought? John?
This is Mark.
Brian?
Well, this is Mark. Like I said, on the existing project as it's engineered, I'm in full agreement on the non-compliance and past projects and the risk as far as, what's happened in the past and why it would maybe be any different in the future. But when you look at how this project is going to be engineered, it's actually benefiting some of the drainage as long as going forward it's maintained. And so that's the question, and I think that's the main question that John and Brian and the rest of us are asking is, okay, you're being asked to approve something, but in the past, maintenance hasn't been taken care of, so why would we think that it's going to be done differently in the future? I guess that's the main thing. So if you guys are confident that, yes, it will be maintained better in the future, then I don't see any reason not to okay it. It's not fair to the landowners to say just because somebody hasn't done it right in the past doesn't mean that the current landowners won't.
And Chris, you're saying that what you read, Mark, are you confident that that takes care of that? I haven't seen that, I'm sorry, guys.
I've got a copy here that I'll email to Chris. I was gonna get that done here yesterday, and I didn't get it done. I've got the names crossed out, but it is public knowledge. And there is a process when, in addition to the easement, when you have the WRP contract, and I'm looking at it from my brother Tom's contract actually, and there is a whole section on the conservation plan of the WRP that talks about non-compliance, and it talks about determination of the violations and the process involved in disputes and appeals of these matters. So it talks about permanent retirement of existing land, the modification, the dikes, the tile management and stuff like that, and it talks about the process if there is non-compliance. It talks about a request for a hearing officer. I know that all of the new ones will have that same language. It might be changed a little bit from this one, it's 20 years old. But the issue is it's never been done. So any of the violations has never gone to, okay, you're not in compliance, and so here's the process that we're going to go through. Most people, I think, would take care of it if that non-compliance was brought to their attention and said, you have to take care of it or else we're going to go through the process. The easement here says that any non-compliance, the USDA government and its representative can come in and just take care of it, and all expenses incurred by the United States, including legal fees and attorney, shall be assessed against the landowner. So there is a process, it's just never been done. So I guess I would encourage the meeting with Brenda and see where we can go on some of these issues. I'm sorry for being so long-winded, but that's how I feel.
And I would like that to take place before I vote on it. Sorry, I'm not gonna vote on something I haven't seen.
So you're looking for the documentation?
That, yeah. I'd like to meet that meeting too, so.
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't know when that'll be.
That's fine. I can usually make it, so.
And especially right now, it's gonna have to be over the phone or something.
That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. Cause that could be a couple weeks out, cause I work this week, but I don't work next week.
Okay. We'll start the process.
We can set you up with a computer so you can do a Zoom from home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Brenda. Hey, I can send you the most recent version of our easement to just a blank copy. I mean, all that's filled in those is name and acres, things like that in the future. But yes, your courthouse has copies of every easement that's ever gone in. But I can email Chris a blank copy of the easement today if you want me to.
That'd be great.
Can we set up, table this matter until 10:30 so we have a chance to get that document, review it, and do other business, and then at 10:30 readdress it? That sound okay?
Yep.
That's fine. I mean, that's whatever you guys want to do. I'll get it sent to her right away.
Okay, and I'll send an email.
I can send this one also.
Good.
Chris is bringing another one down, I think.
A couple more.
So I guess at this point, I'll move the table until 10:30.
All right.
You want 11?
11?
Almost 10.
I mean, we can jump into it. We'll have time to get it here and print it.
Yeah.
Is the office
We
locked?
can just table it.
Second, you get a second?
Second.
Motion
Oh,
to table.
Motion would be in a second from Sandra to table the discussion on the wetland restoration plans for DD 83, 88, 89, and 101 until 10:30.
And possible action.
With possible action. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we'll go up to number 3, discussion with possible action, Environmental Education Center resolution of support.
So, in looking at the TIF numbers, I believe we have room. Is it gonna be easier in next fiscal year to make this work?
Yes. If we could start in 2020 or 2021, fiscal year 2021. That would be much easier than trying to start this right now.
Otherwise, we got a whole bunch of paperwork between now and May.
Yeah.
We don't have time for that right now, so I guess it comes down to what the number would be. What's your thoughts on it?
What was the number again that was he short 300?
What number are you asking for, Robert?
Well, at our meeting, last meeting, we didn't ask for a specific number. I showed you kind of the range of what other counties have done to be competitive in that CAT grant application. We've got approximately, and this is all, estimated because we don't have bids in yet. We have approximately 345,000 of unmet needs so far. So we can apply for up to 20% for a CAT grant, and that 20% is the high end. It could be a little less than that. So that could potentially be in that $200,000 range, $225,000. It all depends on what our final number is that we submit to the application, with the application. And I'm going to be meeting with NICOG, or discussing it with them here in the next week before the 15th, because that's when they want it submitted. So, we can potentially get $225,000 from the CAT grant if it's approved. So that still leaves us in that $120,000 to $130,000 range, maybe a little more, maybe $150,000.
And the more we pledge, the better it looks for getting a CAT grant. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, that's what they tell us. That's what NICOG says, Joe Myrie. And so when they're comparing one that's got strong support versus one that has little support, they want to stretch their money out as far as they can. They obviously look at the quality of the project, but if things being equal, they're going to look at the financial support that's being provided.
Kind of want to wait for Mike to get back before we
Yeah.
finish it. Mike stepped out for just a minute.
Okay. And the soonest that any construction costs would be incurred would be this coming fall. September would be the earliest. If the application is approved, the money sounds like it would be released after July 1st as far as CAT money. And the CAT money is based on a reimbursement system. We submit bills, they provide us with 20% of that back, or whatever the percentages they've approved back with each submittal of expenditures. So if we let bids in July, September would be the earliest before there'd be any construction started.
The other thing with TIF is that you have to create debt, so they would have
We have to borrow from ourselves to pay it back.
Yep, so
if he's spending the money, is that borrowing from ourselves?
yes,
Okay, so
but it would have
then
to
we
get
would
to
fund
that
it
point.
out of TIF then at some point.
Yeah, so that it would have to get to that point where we needed to borrow from ourselves in order, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
He has to spend it first.
yes.
Yes.
Well, I think competitive wise, would say 75 to 100,000 would make it more competitive. We have the funds available in the TIF to do it.
Well, the max you can get is, you figure 200,000?
It will depend on what our total cost, or what our bids come in at. We can't use any expenditures that we've incurred already, which we've got some of those, as I described last time. So 20% will be the maximum. And they said, you could figure on anywhere between 16, 18%. They said if you have a good project and you stick with it, there's a very good chance you'll get funded. But it's going to be very competitive this go around, because they expended all of their money for the current fiscal year last July. So there's going to be applications that were submitted back then that didn't get funded, plus new ones that will get submitted here in May that we'll be competing with. So, and we were told that they moved it, the deadline from May 1st to May 15th because of what's going on right with the current situation. So we've got a little more time before the application deadline, but our plan is to have it submitted by the 15th of April.
So even if you got the 200,000, you'd still be 145 short or so?
Yes, you see, right now the plan is to submit in our grant application the furnishings as well. The office supplies, the office furniture, the displays, cabinets, those types of things. That's what they recommended doing. So if we were going to cut anywhere, that would probably be where we would cut first, and address that expenditure later. But for now, the plan is to include that in the application.
Well, what number are we thinking about then? I would like to do it in one time rather than dragging it out over a couple of years.
Well, I guess my thought was, do we go with the amount that they're going to be short? Which is 145,000 roughly.
As long as we can take it out of
TIF, the urban renewal.
I'll stay quiet on that one. Gonna be next year?
Yeah,
it'll be next fiscal year.
It'll be easier to do it next year for.
The numbers show some of it will roll into next year. It's been building up.
Okay.
So we have the funds sitting there. And it'll help for the external auditor if we can identify it's going to be going towards that project.
Very good. I don't know how anybody could balk at that. So I'm for it.
No, it's and like, it looks good for the county to put a little skin in the game as far as getting your grants and stuff.
There's a lot of times we could use a facility like that for our purposes too.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of meetings that we could not hold in here, that we had to go up to the courtroom or had to go to TSB. I think that's a pretty good location for us to be able to have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
I had hoped that the new jail would have had a bigger facility for meetings, but it's no bigger than this, even if it is.
Yeah.
So, is the 145 the one number you guys are thinking about then?
Are you okay with that one?
I guess I'd go along with it.
Robert, does that sound reasonable?
Yes, it does.
I'll make that a motion to
Well, it's
fund the Environmental Education Center to the tune of $145,000 to qualify for a grant.
Now, it's gonna be going into the resolution.
I know it, but I want that in a minute so that people know that.
To qualify for the
To
CAD.
help qualify for a state grant. I'll second the motion.
Okay, a motion from Stenger and a second from Derby to approve $145,000 for the Environmental Education Center support. So to make it easier to get state grants. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
So should we have a separate motion just to approve the resolution with that number put into it then?
Robert, we have to have this, right, to even apply for the grant?
You have to have a minimum of
Yes,
$5,000.
they said that the county has to contribute to the, financially to the project.
Right.
The more we contribute, the better your odds are of success.
Well, yeah, I think we've become more competitive.
Yeah, we can't say that the money we put in there is contingent on the state funding, but
Yeah.
it's certainly gonna help.
Yeah. Well, it always looks good when people are willing to support something that someone else wants to, it's gonna support, so.
So Carla, once you put that in, do we need to approve the resolution as written? Okay. You wanna look at it?
Resolution.
There's the resolution right there, Mike.
Yeah. Could we even do what I just made a motion for?
It's part of the resolution. You wanted to identify the number first, and then that goes into that resolution.
So now the resolution has the number.
Right.
Oh.
It's part of the process.
Yep. All right.
I will make that a motion, resolution number 0407, 2020, 22-1.
I'll second the motion.
Motion from Stenger and a second from Derby.
And you don't need a stamp on that, do you?
To approve resolution number 0407, 2020, 2201. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I didn't need to state the amount there, did I? Yeah, it's good, it's got it. All right.
We already did that before.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Yep, thanks, Robert.
Okay, Eric Goat, IT, to discuss the courthouse server replacement project with possible action.
All right, got some updated quotes here. Did get the quote from NGT. Pulled it off at the last minute on Friday. Got it nailed down. And so it's divided into 3 packets by the different vendors and solutions that have been proposed. So I guess what's changed since last time is the NGT quote is brand new because I had asked for it and hadn't received it by our meeting last week. I just received it on Friday and spent some time looking at it over the weekend. This one here, the email on the front, is the CDW scale computing one, and they came back. They're really wanting our business and are trying to sweeten the deal. And then IP Pathways came back with a slightly different solution, different brand of equipment on the servers, but still good equipment and that are significantly less expensive, and made it more apples to apples with everything else. So I wrote basically the totals at the top there of what the solution is. It's I think any one of these solutions could work. One thing, I did meet with the ICIT tech team, we had an online conference call yesterday, and 4 other counties jumped on, their IT guys, and I shared all of this with them, and we talked about it for an hour. And, you know, I just was explaining what's been offered to us here, and they were asking questions about, you know, what we've been doing and that kind of thing. And one thing that I was aware of, but that they brought to mind even more so, is that the change and disruption, while my hope is that it would be very minimal change and disruption for any of the staff people, the amount of work that it's going to take to go away from the VMware solution that IT Pathways has proposed is going to be probably I'm going to say 4 times the amount of work and effort. And not that I'm trying to be lazy, but that also means more possibilities for disruption. So
I gotta try to move this along.
Oh, sure.
Which company is it again that negates the blaming each other?
Scale.
That was Scale. Although the IP, I mean, yeah, Scale. I won't complicate it.
You want to use them?
With more details. At this point, they're not my first pick because of what I just mentioned. It will cause, especially the public health department, they would have the biggest amount of change because they use this remote access for their nurses to.
Well, I'm assuming you're giving this great thought. So
I have.
Which one do you want to use?
At this point, I have come back to IP Pathways, and I don't mean to discredit anybody else, but that will be the least disruptive at this time, particularly for the public health department, because they are using the remote access that's all set up and it's all working, and basically nothing will change for them.
Any reason we shouldn't take your recommendation?
I have one question.
Okay.
It's up to you.
As with any bidding process, is this considered not really apples for apples, so we can pick and choose which one we want based on just a proposal?
They're fairly apples to apples. I've done everything I can. You know, it's different brands of equipment and different brands of software.
I would think we have a good enough reason just for what he stated.
Because of the extra work involved to convert. Well, I would agree with that.
I'll make a motion to go with IP Pathways for our server needs.
I'll second the motion.
Motion Stenger and a second from Derby to go with IP Pathways as the server replacement project for the courthouse. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thanks for your work on this.
Yeah, thank you for listening to me for 45 minutes last week. Thank you for your support too.
Okay.
Just
Scott, you on the line?
Yep.
All right, Scott, Pioneers engineer, will discuss secondary road matters.
Yeah, well, first maybe we'll revisit the Eagle Lane parking. I just swung up there to see if, I had any new opinions. And I think my recommendation would be to make the entirety no parking. And that's just because I think the most common cars that are parked out there are right at the cul-de-sac. So if we just limit cul-de-sac, those cars, I'm afraid, will get parked in front of other people's houses. And like I said, I don't want to turn anybody against, put neighbors against each other. together or anything like that. So I think the cleanest way would just make it be no parking. And, you know, if anybody has parties or whatever, then, you know, just to use a little bit of judgment, I guess. That's kind of what I'm thinking. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I think no overnight parking, period, and, figure out a way to identify a snow event. You know, 24 hours after a snow event, you can't be parking on there. During and after a snow event.
Okay.
So that kind of covers everything you wanted.
Yeah, and it still makes it legal to park there for a party.
Right. As long as the party's not too late.
Yeah, no,
Or overnight.
yeah. Yeah, but enough of the people should have left by then, they can all park in the driveway.
Okay. I'm not really sure on this one, but one thing it wouldn't address necessarily is if you got a longer vehicle and you're trying to get around that cul-de-sac during the day.
Back up.
Yeah,
How many times does that arise? Is it during a snow event would be pretty well cover the secondary roads.
Right.
And if someone's coming through there with a bigger vehicle,
UPS truck delivery truck.
well, UPS, I guess, could probably get through there. You know, you get anything longer than that, you're gonna have problems, but,
Is there any possibility to cut the cul-de-sac down a little? I mean, in the middle? Then at least you'd have more room to maneuver.
You do the curb?
Yeah, move the curb in tighter.
That'd be expensive.
yeah,
On the inside?
you'd have to have pavement come in and everything with it.
That'd be 50 grand to do that.
You think so?
No, how much did that cost, Scott? I say 50 grand.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to add up to 50,000, but there is a well in there, Terry, that is trying to be protected. So I'm not sure if that would be worth the money.
Well, if it's no 24-hour, you can't park there between certain times, there aren't gonna be that many vehicles that'll get left out there, like, and if they're left there during the day, it's probably someone that might be there. Because most people aren't gonna take a car out of their driveway and park it out in the street just for the day, so they have to move it back later.
One ticket by any of them will take care of the problem real quick, I think.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really don't have a,
No parking during and after snow events, and no parking between the hours, what'd you say, 2 and 6 or something?
Oh,
something like that.
just say no overnight parking.
No overnight parking? Yeah, that would cover it, I guess.
Trying to see what they say.
Okay.
Kind of like on Main Street here, they have a sign that says no overnight parking or whatever.
I got a ticket for
It's
that one.
2 and 6 or something like that.
Yeah. If you want to put hours on it, you could.
Yeah, I'll have to do a little bit of investigation as to what mechanisms give us the power to do each of those two things, and how it's enforceable and all that, but I'll work that out with Kelsey and see what we can put together if you guys are all kind of in agreement on no overnight and no parking during snow events.
During and 24 hours afterwards?
I'm not, well, I gotta kind of look into maybe what's typical and, see if we can cover, any instance when we see in there.
All right.
Trying to work on it.
Because lots of times, after it's quit snowing, I mean, the wind can come up later and create drifts again, so it's, you're gonna want a little leeway time before they start parking back out there again. With
that always kind of in it.
I'm guessing this is pretty well gonna take care of the parking out there altogether, so.
what you guys want to do, then I'll work on some details and get that back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Anything else for secondary roads for anybody?
Did you get a phone call from one of your constituents about, that road? He was trying to get to Daryl Eastvold's to burn some, CRP, Gary Wonder. He was upset about the road. He couldn't get out there he was gonna pull a trailer and he couldn't get out there because the road going east and west there by the new, hog place, mile south of A16.
Mm-hmm. No, he never said it.
That was in really sad shape, he said. Really ridged up, and he said the people that were building the hog building or something were not doing their due diligence to help maintain the road, so that would be one to look at.
Okay, Terry, can you tell me where that is again?
It's east and west, you know, let me look at it here on the...
Is it on 240th? Is it that hog building?
It is, let's see.
Or you're talking
It would be 480th, and it'd be 480th. Probably if you started at, it'd be 100th Avenue, which is the blacktop. Which one is that? That 830 or R34?
Oh, yeah.
R34 going west on 480th. I think.
Okay, yeah, fine.
I'm thinking of a different spot.
We had heard about that one, I think, at least once this spring, so.
Anyway, he caught me and he's gonna call Bill, and so he was pretty upset about it.
Sure, it is a minimum maintenance road, so, we'll take a look at it, but our guys are just kinda getting started end to end on level A, so it might be a little bit if it's just some touch up for it.
Yeah, if they could just knock down the worst of it a little bit.
The guys building the building, do they have any kind of equipment to take care of that?
I don't know.
I think the construction is pretty well done on that project, isn't it?
Is it?
They did some work during the actual construction, you know, hauled some rock and different things like that.
Yeah.
There should, I don't know, there's level A roads to that facility, so I would hope to be using the better roads.
Did that end up on a north-south road or an east-west?
The hog building is on 480th between 70th and 80th.
Alright.
Or, excuse me, between 80th and 90th, excuse me.
Okay.
But
Otherwise, I didn't have anything else for roads.
okay.
No, I don't have anything. All right, should we, spend a little time looking through this before we go to get to 10:30?
Well, I'm going through my second time, and I don't see where this easement makes the landowner take care of any blockage. It talks about keeping it up, but it doesn't have any teeth in the,
But the code has some of that in.
This is Scott again. I think that, you know, but those agreements are between the landowner and the NRCS probably. And anybody who has wetland reserve program would have those easements recorded. But between that and the code related to the tile, I don't know, it might take some help from Kelsey on, you know, how all that relates to each other and what our process should be. That's kind of my thought on it. Because, I mean, we can all kind of cite code sections, but until we have some confirmation from an attorney representing the county. I think it's hard to agree.
I'm not so sure we shouldn't
Bill,
just
you
go
wanna
with our,
You wanna call Chris and tell her? no?
tile attorney. I'm gonna assume that he's run into this before. Not that
This is Chris.
Yeah,
Kelsey
Chris,
shouldn't
we're
do it, but
reading through, the easement that you brought in.
Okay, I'll be right over.
All right.
So if the NRCS was to terminate this, it sounds like people would have to pay all that money back, I would think.
someone said a lawyer tell me that those who write these things always leave a word in there so that they can challenge it. So it's ridiculous. But
I started reading it, but I haven't gotten very far.
So go
On
over
page
as a politician
6.
to get everything in plain layman's terms.
yeah, I don't know why they couldn't.
Yeah. That's job security.
You know?
Well, you
Well,
could,
I've read it twice and I don't see any of that, so. And you guys do.
You didn't see
I
where?
don't see any teeth, I don't see anything in here that gives us teeth
Yeah.
to charge the landowner.
oh, we have that in code.
Well,
Yeah, there's a
Right,
process to
but
go
there's
through,
a-
it's just that most people don't wanna have to go through that process.
we wanted it in the easement. I thought,
Right.
but
To me, this tells them that if they aren't in compliance, they may lose their easement, which means they have to pay their money they got from them back.
Yeah,
That's a lot of teeth.
yeah.
okay, well, yeah, that's good enough. for you
They
guys.
basically have bought this easement for a good portion of the cost of the land. That's a lot of money to get to turn it into WRP.
So, did you read
Deal with it.
page 6, letter D? Is that what you're looking at, Terry?
Well, that's part of it, yeah.
Which page?
Page 6, letter D.
Hey guys, I don't know if Brenda's still on here, but I mean, it has teeth, but you have to sue them to get it. You know what I mean? So it's just nothing simple.
No, yeah, there is a process, but it's not a comfortable process.
That's right, right.
You would hope that nobody would let it get pushed to that point, but
Right.
So I was looking up in C at the top, the authority to modify, subordinate, exchange, or terminate is reserved by the Secretary of Agriculture. So if it got to that point, he has the ability to just.
I take it back, I guess I didn't read number 2 under D. It does, take care of it.
To assess all expenses incurred by the United States against the landowner.
Folks, this is John Vaughn with the NRCS. Can I interject something in here to kind of help
Sure.
redirect this discussion?
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt. Brent asked if I could add in some extra facets to the discussion. So the one thing I want you to take into consideration when reviewing the NRCS easement deed is the fact that that deed is written from the perspective of supporting the wetland easement programs. It's not taking into consideration the existing easements, in your case, the drainage easements that are on that property. So as you guys have already pointed out, the drainage easement is superior to the wetland easement. And as such, there isn't going to be anything in the wetland easement deed language that is going to change anything respective of the drainage deed. So, as has been pointed out, the Iowa Code is kind of controlling here with regards to drainage-related issues, and goes back to that. All of the mention of violations and remedies and enforcement in the easement deed that you're reading through right now reference back to the terms and conditions of the wetland easement deed, not the drainage deed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or the drainage easement, excuse me.
That's fine, but as the farmers pointed out, it's never been enforced, and it's always, in the past now, not necessarily going in the future, in the past, the farmers always got it screwed. So, and pretty much always. So that's what we're trying to get addressed here.
The farmer in the drainage district, you mean?
The farmer and the drainage district.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a singular, well, it could be a singular farm if you're big enough, I guess, but,
I was just trying to point out that the deed that you're reading is coming at this from a different angle.
Yes.
So you're probably not going to find specifically what you're looking for. Just wanted to clarify keep you from going down that rabbit hole if need be, because the conservation deed isn't going to be specific to that.
I did find what I was looking for. It's under paragraph D, number 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is Mark Kingland. I understand what you're saying there as far as the drainage easement superseding it. The question is if trees are allowed to go up to a point to where it does interfere with drainage, trees are not an approved practice on that wetland, then it's been out of compliance for a period of time. So at that point, it does affect drainage, and the fact that it hasn't been in compliance should mean that the remedy should be bore by the landowner to remedy that. That make sense?
Yep. It does, Mark, and thank you for that perspective. I'm going to add a little bit. This is John Pollan again from NRCS. I'm going to add a little additional information in there. As Brenda mentioned, we kind of have the issue at hand, and then we have the issue of the existing easements. And as many of you are familiar, we have a new farm bill, that was signed late in 2018. And subsequent to the adoption of the 2018 farm bill, we have policy changes in various stages of completion for the wetland easement program, and all of the actions related to that. I will say that from the committee report in the 2018 Farm Bill, the gist of the language that was given back to NRCS was that given that we have an almost 30-year history with the program now, they would like to see increased what they're calling stewardship of existing easements. So maintaining and upkeeping, the reasons for which those easements were taken to begin with, which falls right in with what we're talking about right now. Supportive of that, moving forward, part of our annual wetland easement allocation is going to be, allotted for maintenance and management activities on existing easements. We did not have that previously. So once the policies and procedures are in place, subsequent to that, we'll have a lot more latitude and ability to be able to address these. In the past, we did not have a formal vehicle to do that. So it's, I guess, kind of an indicator as to the direction that we're headed. That's what we're going to be looking at in the very near future is going down that road and being able to address these issues a little bit better than we have in the past. So if that helps set your mind at ease a little bit, that's That's why I'm sharing that little bit of information.
John, this is Mark Kinlan again. That sounds good. Can you tell me what the process would be to get that started? Because I know that in our area here, we have a few specific instances where in the past roots have gotten into the tile, and it appears like there are trees growing over existing poly lines, which will be a problem, or could be. What would be the process that we would use to go forward and get some of that maintenance taken care of?
I see a couple of different avenues, Mark. Number one would be that we're required to do on-site monitoring of all of our easements at least once out of every 5 years. Typically, there's other activities that have taken place, be it restoration or maintenance or repair, that make that on-site activity more frequent than that. So the results of those on-site monitoring activities, where they do assess, not only are the terms and conditions of the easement deed being met, but they do a little cursory vegetative assessment as well. So that would be one on-site way of trying to figure out the specific easements that would need attention. The second would be, as Brenda, provided to John a little bit earlier, direct contact from the trustees if they see an issue. That door is always open for contact to that local area easement specialist to reach out and let them know that there are issues.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, so the specific ones that we're looking at, number one, we would be in contact with Brenda, and she's provided that contact information, and then show her the specific areas that we're looking at, and then it would go through there, correct?
Correct. And going back to something TJ said earlier about the location of existing tiles on older easements, that is something that we struggle with, maybe even as much as you guys do, because we don't have good information always about the exact locations of those tiles. So working collaboratively moving forward, we can share maps of where our existing easements are. That's all public information. And then as we move forward in this discussion, working with you guys to, better map out the location of those existing drainage district tiles, I think that will give us all a little better view of what we need to address and how. So moving forward, it's gonna require some effort on both of our parts to advance that discussion.
This is John Johnson. I have a question on who's going to pay for the ongoing maintenance. Does it get back to the landowner, or are these funds supposed to come from NRCS, or who's responsible for paying?
One of the things you're going to see on that, John, and Mark already brought this up, there's I believe 3 or 4 different versions of the wetland easement deed that have been in place since the beginning of the program. The one that Mark was referencing in the case of his brothers is pretty explicit that the landowner is responsible. The newer deeds, as the supervisors are probably seeing, are a little more vague in that location or in that specific language. However, I will always say that if an issue is addressed, then NRCS has the ability to financially support the actions that are necessary to keep that easement in support of the functions and values for which it was taken.
I've had a landowner tell me that he has no responsibility for trees over 88 tile. So I guess as a trustee, I'm kind of at a loss what I can do in that scenario.
Well, again, this is a situation where we need to take a collaborative approach to this. We have a lot of moving parts going right now, so we don't effectively have policy in place specific to this issue, but Brenda and I were having some side conversations that taking a proactive approach to this and developing some policies and procedures for drainage district and easement related items will help us put forth a template that we can use in other counties as well. So this is a good exercise for all of us involved.
Well, these are, you know, some of these are 30 years old and really nothing has been done about trees. So I guess I agree,
and it's not just exclusive to trees either. Unfortunately, the inception of the program, the intention or the thought always was, you know, how many can we get enrolled and how many acres can we get in the program, because it's an easement in perpetuity. We can always come back and improve upon it. So unfortunately, it's taken 30 years for that mentality to come home to roost that, holy cow, perpetual easements are for a very long time and things change. So we need to be maintaining and repairing items that need to be repaired to keep them functioning as best we can, including situations where we have superior drainage easements.
Are trees acceptable on a wetlands project?
I would say that it's going to be a case-by-case basis, because the trees are, in fact, native vegetation. The only fallback within the easement deed is control of noxious weeds. So unless the county were to enact a policy that willows of varying species are noxious weeds, we don't have any teeth in the easement deed that would preclude tree growth. One of the things that you will see on a lot of old wetland reserve plans of operation is that the vegetative side of a restoration was not, how do I put this, was not very specific, and in a lot of instances, restoration meant restoring the hydrology, and whatever naturally revegetated on the site was acceptable. So you're going to see a significant amount of variation from plan to plan and generationally throughout the history of the easement program as to what was acceptable and what wasn't. So we kind of have a moving target. I think what we can all get together on the same page in moving forward is coming up with a plan and a policy as to how we deal with these things, and that gives us a path forward.
I was looking at number B with the noxious plants and pests and thought maybe the language should be added in there that trees over any drainage line would be considered a noxious plant and pest. If that was added in.
I'm afraid that the easement deed that you guys are viewing is a national template, and we do not have latitude to change that. I will say that if there were something adopted via the Iowa Code or by Winnebago County, then if there were specific language to that, then we would adhere to that. I can't change this easement deed as you're reading it.
Well, I would definitely support making trees over any drainage line noxious.
I can check with Iowa IDDA and see if they have any language that we could put into a policy.
I mean, another part in here that might almost address it is diverting. It says that the landowner shall comply with diverting or causing or permitting any diversion of the surface or underground water into, within, or out of the easement area by any means, except as specifically set forth in Exhibit D's. I mean, that almost, if you're changing the flow of the water by plugging it, so does that almost have part 3 or 6?
Again, the context of that is that if there were restoration activities that took place
that involved tile. You know, we've talked about non-perf over the course of this discussion. If there were activities implemented as part of the restoration, if the landowner were to do something to modify that after the fact, that's what that item is referencing.
They're not maintaining it, they've changed it though.
Yeah, that might be an angle to approach that from. I would give you that.
I guess I know of one where, you know, they've never put non-perf in. There's trees growing around the reestablished wetland, and it's only a matter of time before they completely plug the tile.
Well,
So, I mean, to me, I thought this was supposed to be a prairie situation, not they're going to be forests is what's going to happen.
Unfortunately, John, that's part of a much bigger discussion than the landscape of Iowa. That's not specific to easements in general. It's just the change of the lack of fire and that sort of things that typically would have historically controlled trees. We have a completely different landscape now.
But they're promoted as restoring the prairie, not restoring the forest.
John, I think you hit on a really key point, and maybe inadvertently, but you said you could live with that language. Well, I think that's what these farmers are trying to get away from, is that there is no ambiguity in any of this language, so that they have something that they can rely on that isn't going to adversely affect their farms.
Agreed, and as Brenda and TJ both previously mentioned, we want to be good partners in this process, and we have to recognize that the existence of the drainage system is not going to go away, and it needs to be maintained, and we will work with you guys in concert to make sure that that is part of the future of this program, because if we don't have buy-in and support, we don't have a program. And I think Mark referenced earlier that, you know, this is a voluntary program. We have to remember that. And an individual landowner shouldn't be punished for some past transgressions of a larger group. So how do NRCS and the supervisors collaboratively work to allow this opportunity for those that want to voluntarily enroll in the program while maintaining the drainage network that lies underneath it?
Well, you've had 30 years and there's been no maintenance. That's what I have an issue with.
And John, like I said, moving forward, it's now become a priority as pushed forward to us by Congress that we look at these sorts of items. So all I can say is my sphere of influence in this program is short compared to the history of it. So all I can say is what we can do moving forward. I can't speak to the past.
Well, I would like
forward, there aren't going to be any more drainage lines through these projects that don't have non-perforated tile, I don't think either. So.
Agreed, and that's, you know, you've already alluded to several of the steps that are being proposed and planned as part of this process with the observation intakes, the non-perf tile, etc. We've learned some lessons in that regard, and absolutely take steps in the prairie pothole region to address these sorts of things, be it using, you know, going to dual wall tile as opposed to just straight non-perf, you know, all of those sorts of steps we can take to further prevent issues like this in the future.
Well, is there an established process for when I have an issue? Because right now I don't know how to even start to get something taken care of. Because it hasn't been happening. So
as I mentioned, John, that's one of the things we're moving forward on. We're trying to develop. We have changing policies and so on, and this is a good exercise for us to utilize to advance those. So in the works, trying to get to that end.
Well, my patience is kind of thin when it's been 30 years on some of these projects. So, and a farm as trying to make a living without drainage is not going to work for a farmer.
Understood.
District 88 was built in 1908 and it's worked till now, but it's in jeopardy because of what's going on in some of these wetland programs.
So, John, could he call Brenda and let her know of a specific area that has a problem, and so that we can move this forward?
Yeah, I believe Brenda offered up her contact information previously.
She did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did.
I mean, I'm more than willing to show you, but, I mean, we're talking just on county tiles now, but I have private tiles that are in the same scenario. So there needs to be a process where I can get something done, which so far there is no process to resolve anything.
John, I think the first step is to call Brenda and let her know exactly where the problem is.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
Well, is there any further discussion before we move ahead with entertaining a motion on this?
I'm satisfied.
Satisfied, Terry?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to go ahead with this project.
I'll second Mike's motion.
Okay, a motion from Stensrud and a second from Derby to go ahead with wetland restoration plans for DD 83, 88, 89, and 101. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, and I think we've all raised enough concern over the drainage issues that from here forward, as far as we're all concerned, whatever help you need in addressing these issues, if you get stonewalled, which I don't think you will, that things will be better going into the future here.
Thank you all. I appreciate the discussion. I think it's enlightening for all of us and look forward to the opportunity to work on that with you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Means she's here on his office drainage matters.
I don't have anything because the only thing I had was on item number 10.
Okay.
What is that real quick? Can we move to 10? I have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, number 10, discussion of possible action regarding drainage ditches next to roads.
Okay, in talking with Scott Minders and IDDA, it's kind of confusing. I think one place says it one way and one place says it another. But I believe that the district should pay for repairs in the road ditch, if it's a district issue. If the road happened to make the issue for some reason, then the secondary road should be responsible. But if it's nothing to do with the actual road, I feel the district should be responsible for it. Scott, are you on here?
Yes, Chris, did you get the email that I sent you?
I did. So would you say that my statement is correct?
Say it again, please.
I feel that if the district has an issue in the road ditch, the district should pay for it. If for some reason your road happened to do something to damage the ditch issue, then maybe it would be your problem.
Or
yeah, that's how I understand from kind of Mark's description of how it's worked. You know, ditch cleaning and all those kind of regular maintenance stuff have always been charged to the district. You know, some of the things that we've repaired are like by Rembrandt where the bank kind of collapsed and it was cutting into the road. We fixed some of those things. Mm-hmm. So I think that's it with what you said.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So going forward, we probably have to have discussion on that very ditch by Rembrandt about the possibility of moving the ditch over.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other subject.
I know, I'm just saying, we should probably have that discussion soon, because Rembrandt would like to see that, because they're worried about the road and the steepness.
So that is a discussion for Scott and you as trustees. Yeah,
Yep.
I think I'd like to be involved with it, because they do have a management storage facility within close proximity, so we need to hopefully not get too close to that to.
Well, that should be the same as 11, that you can,
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same rules or not, we'll see.
yeah, because I don't know what you're actually
And that's
talking
what I
about.
told them,
So,
that if drainage gets put into that area, then it's out of their hands and it was superseded, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But if they have to re-up on their agreement with the DNR, I just want to make sure it doesn't adversely affect that.
right.
But I think that would be in the very northern end, so it might be, it moves over a little bit for the most part, and then you get to the end and it angles
And
in.
that's an improvement which would require an engineer if you're gonna move a ditch. You can't just move a ditch, drainage ditch.
Yeah.
You
But
can't.
it's gonna take some design, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't even have a petition on that to even go forward, so we'll have to wait for something like that. But I think now, like, was it Gordy Anderson that had the issue? That with the
Jeff.
ditch? Jeff, okay, I'm sorry. So we could just get a contractor to fix it and the district will take care of the cost.
What's the issue?
I wanted to make sure who actually was responsible for the
Well,
payment.
he doesn't have an issue with the ditch. He has an issue with the tile going.
That should be the same. If it's
Yeah,
a repair,
Right.
yeah, the district will take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was unclear on who actually should pay for something in a road ditch. And I wanted that clarification.
no, I agree with you on this.
So. I don't have anything else.
All right. So what kind of action do you have on that?
I don't think we need anything.
There's no action, is there?
I wanted to talk about this before he left, but
Oh,
Yeah, he's probably got his consultation.
yeah. No. Doesn't matter now.
doesn't matter now.
Want to go back and do everything in order then?
Yeah, we'll go back to number 7. Consider for approval auditor's quarterly report.
I'll give you the recorders and then you can switch.
Want the stamp on the front?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's quarterly report.
I'll second it. Motion Derby, second Johnville. To approve the auditor's quarterly report, all in favor say aye.
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 And
Okay.
after review of the recorder's report, I'll approve the recorder's quarterly report.
And make a motion to approve it?
Yes.
Or are we just gonna approve it on your own?
Yes.
Okay. Motion Derby, second from Johnsvold to approve the recorder's quarterly report. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Let's see. Consider for approval, EAT program for employees.
So, this company contacted me and, basically it's an employee assistance program which allows counseling for employees if needed. They told us they would give us April for free, which it's already in a few days, but, and then, so I brought this to Brittany's attention with Health Partners because they're a broker. I said, is this the price reasonable? Is it, you know, what do you think? And she said, yeah, it looks okay. She said most people go with the core, either the 6 or the 3 sessions, and it's up to you. We looked at it a couple of years ago, the EAP program, and you guys decided not to do it at that time. It's something we could do now. It's something we could look at again at renewal time. Totally up to you.
So this is a cost.
It's cost to the county.
It's an annual cost.
Yes.
Either 47 or 43.
No, the top one. The 22 or the
22 or
18. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, most people go with the core.
Yep.
I was told.
Well, I don't know if there's room in this budget this year for it, right?
Yeah, probably not.
So, and our next, when we, what's it, next
2021.
fall, we start.
We'll start the new insurance in July. So that's what I was going to talk to you.
We could action on it now for it to be effective for July 1. Is what
well, if we want to do that, I think we wait until renewal time and do it all at once.
All right.
Have Brittany get us more than one quote and that kind of thing.
I think that would be good.
I think that I was going to talk in open forum. We just got our insurance renewals back. So I was going to talk about that a little bit and how that would line up with this.
Okay.
So if we're not going to do anything with this, can we jump to open forum?
Oh, all right. Open forum.
Okay, so we got our original we got our original quote back from Health Partners, and they actually quoted us at 22%, which if you looked at what our claims versus revenue is, if we'd just gone with our stuff, we'd got a 58% increase because our claims were so bad. So, and then when you looked at our claims with the book of business, we should have got a 38% increase, so they gave us 22%. And I had a conference call with Brian and Brittany the other day, and I said, Brian, if there's any way, could you call them and see if we can get it lowered? I didn't budget enough to do a 22% increase. You know, let's see what they'll do for us. So actually, they got us down to a 17% increase. So that fitting in with the EAP, and I haven't looked at the actual numbers yet, but I would guess that we would have enough money to
in that 2%.
In the 3% to put in the extra $2,000 for an EAP. So she gave me this form. I should make a copy of it, but you guys can look and then pass it. Those are our claims and what we paid in. So really, if we paid in $1 million, we spent $2 million. So our claims were awful this year.
Never want to have another one of those again.
No, we don't. And I did ask Brittany and Brian, you know, do we go out for bids? Do we do something? And he said, you know, with a year like this, you don't want to go going out for bids. So he said, let's, you know, like I said, he got it down to 17%, which for what we had for claims, I think is actually pretty good. And I think we just hopefully look at ways that we can encourage people to use like telehealth and things like that so that we can maybe hopefully save on some claims in the coming year.
Yeah, they've made it much simpler for telehealth now, haven't they, from the FDA and everything?
Yeah.
Save myself a lot of time if I can do that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess going forward, I'd be interested in entertaining that anyway.
Okay.
You okay with looking into that? Getting another bid on that other one to?
You do it at renewal time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That what you said made sense.
Okay. Right. The other thing that I wanted to bring up in open forum was our RFP for audits is up this year, and I have sent some letters out to our audit firm and looking for bids for our audit, our external audit. So
There's only a couple of them that do it.
yeah, there's not many.
All right.
Guys, this is Julie at Public Health. I just wanted to know if you had any questions for us during open forum about COVID-19.
As we all work together during this unprecedented challenge.
I don't.
We currently have.
Okay. I sent you that email where we had the one positive case, and that's how it is right now. The governor just released new numbers like 2 minutes ago, and there are 102 more new cases in the state of Iowa. Positive cases, which brings a total of 1,048. And 3 new counties. So, if you have any questions or anything, you guys can email us. We're going to try and keep you up to date. So,
Is it a violation of anything to know where the one infection was from in the county?
yes. Yes.
Planning and coordinating themselves.
I understand that, but it's, I suppose you don't want to discriminate against the town either.
Yep, no. Allison did the investigation on Sunday and took care of everything, and it was all taken care of, so that's all we can do is just do our investigation, and there we have one positive case, and that she is self-isolating.
All right. Thanks, Julie.
You bet. Thanks.
Well, did you get a chance to review the claims?
I did. I'll make a motion to approve the semi-monthly county claims.
I'll second it. Motion from Derby and a second from Gentle to approve the semi-monthly county claims, and whether it's legal or not, Mike says he votes yes. He wrote it down on his agenda.
He had no questions then.
Evidently not. All right, then we stand adjourned.
All right.
This other one